Welcome to Lawyers in the House with Motley. Wish you had a lawyer in the family? Now you do. Here's your host, Veronica Waters.
Kick off your shoes and relax your feet. You are in the house with me, Veronica Waters. Welcome to Lawyers in the House with Motley. So glad to have you back with us for another episode. I have been a journalist for X number of years now. We're not going to get into that right now. I will tell you, though, having been in this business for a long time, I've learned journalists love lists. There is something about lists that not only reporters and anchors, but listeners and TV viewers and readers love. There's just something about how catchy it can be. Sometimes it can be really informative, top 10 coolest robots, right? Or it can tell us something that helps guide our life, makes us a little smarter. Top 4 reasons to refinance your mortgage. Sometimes things are just kind of wacky and off the wall, like the countries that have the most deaths from selfies. Yes, Carnegie Mellon actually did a study on that, and I believe the U.S. came in number 3. And everybody remembers David Letterman's top 10 list every night on The Late Show. Well, today we've got a Lawyers in the House list just for you. It's a top 5 list. Going to keep you guessing on what it might be because first I'm going to tell you that we've got 2 chart-topping attorneys from Motley here in the house with us today to take us bullet point by bullet point through this list. First up, we have Alyssa White, who was with us on our housewarming episode of Lawyers in the House with Motley. Alyssa, I'm so glad to have you back in the house with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Alyssa, you remember, is the person who's got this reputation for being so hardworking for her clients. She's also known for being kind. They always talk about how compassionate she is, how she's always calling to check on them, and how persistent and driven she is, never giving up on trying to get them the best results. Alyssa also knows what it's like to be on the other side of personal injury because she was her own lawyer when she had her own accident a few years ago. And Alyssa is a mom of dogs and boys. Alyssa, tell me a little bit about how that drives you.
Well, we talk to a lot of people, and I have a lot of clients who call with kids in the car when they were involved in an accident. And when I hear that, my heart just hurts because as a mom of 2 little ones, I know exactly the way the scream would sound and all of the things that your child is going to be going through while you're going through it too. And you're trying to be tough and brave with kids in the car. So I have a little extra layer of compassion whenever a parent calls or a grandparent calls when they have kids in the car. I feel like I can really understand what they're going through in that moment.
Yeah, it's like real empathy from a first person perspective. Yeah. All right. Richard Warner is new to the show, but he is no rookie lawyer in this house. Richard has been practicing law for more than 2 decades now and comes to Georgia by way of New York. He came to the United States as a little bitty infant because he was born in the United Kingdom, as you will be able to tell from his accent.
Yes, good morning.
That's if the United Kingdom moved to New York City. Richard has been with Motley for about 22 years now and has a little numbers experience behind him, right? You didn't first go into law, Richard.
No, I was a business major in college because in high school I was in a law program and the teacher suggested to all of us that we major in something other than the traditional pre-law discipline in college so you have something else to fall back on and to have some diversified experience. So I was a business major and accounting covers every aspect of business. So I became a CPA, but my ultimate dream was to be an attorney, so I'm glad my dream came true.
And you're an award-winning CPA, I read.
Yes. I have 2 awards from the New York State Society of CPAs.
What was it like coming from one field like that into personal injury law?
Well, they're similar in that you have to pay attention to detail. And we have to stay very focused as attorneys and also as accountants. The big difference is the bottom line that I'm fighting for now is the bottom line for my clients as opposed to a corporation.
I love it. Thank you so much, Richard Warner and Alyssa White, for being in the house with us today. We are breaking out a top 5 list for you today here on Lawyers in the House. The top 5 most common questions Montlick injury attorneys get. And there are no stupid questions, but there are questions that folks ask a lot of the time. So we're going to ask them right here and get the answers for you live and in person. All right, so Alyssa and Richard in the house with us. My first question would be what I think a lot of people wonder. They might say, hey, I need a lawyer, but I can't afford it. How expensive is it to hire a lawyer? Question number 1.
It doesn't cost you anything to hire us up front. We work on what's called a contingency fee basis. The contingency is we have to win your case and get money for you. And our fee comes from the settlement.
All right, so it's contingent upon we win the case, and that's when we pay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
What if I don't win?
If you don't win, you don't owe us 1 penny.
What?
Nothing whatsoever. I've been doing this for over 20 years for the clients who have unfortunately not been able to send them a settlement check. I have not sent them a bill to ask for them to reimburse any of the expenses that we laid out on their behalf.
So tell me a little bit about how the process works then when we're talking about lining up the arrangements for getting the case under your wing, so to speak.
Well, the first step is to give us a call. And once we can help you, we jump into action right away. There are doctors who are independent from us who we can suggest to help you. But any decisions regarding your medical care is up to you. The most important thing is to get medical treatment after you've been hurt.
When I call you, no cost for that either.
No cost. It's a free consultation. And you speak to a lawyer.
Alyssa, what if I'm worried that, okay, I know this lawyer works on a contingency basis. Maybe they just want to hurry up and rush my case, take the first offer that the insurance company or whoever offers to me. So then quick payday for them. And now we're going our separate ways.
Yeah, and we get that question a lot, is how long is this going to take, or how fast can I get paid? And that's really not the best methodology to pursue a case if you're thinking that way. Our firm, we take pride in our experience and our resources to be able to build the value of someone's case and guide them through the process. And we have the resources and the means and the experience, and we know where to look for information. And whenever it comes to all of that, that is something valuable about hiring our firm is we have, the mass of lawyers and the massive experience and the reputation to be able to further a case as long as it needs to go.
All right. Well, let me take a step back then, and let's go to question number 2. We're talking about investigating a case, but how do I know if I even have a case to begin with? Let's call that question number 2. How do I even know if I have a case?
Well, again, you give us a call and you speak to an attorney and we ask you questions. And based upon your answers, we can advise you as to whether we can help you. And if we cannot, we explain why we cannot help you.
All right. Well, sometimes, so if I'm one of those people where maybe I got a ticket in an accident or something, does that mean I don't have a case?
Yeah, well, a ticket does not mean that you do not have a case. The police officer cannot testify in court as to who is actually at fault. That would be the role of a jury. We've had a number of cases over the years where we were able to turn around a preliminary determination that our ultimate client was at fault, and it was determined that the other party to the accident was at fault, and we did get money for our clients.
And to kind of go with what Richard is saying, having the resources and the knowledge of how to get information and to actually get it and review it and take the time to look into these situations. I had a case not too long ago where it was a he said, she said situation about who ran the red light. And my client was like, there was a train. There's no way he had a green light because it's technically impossible, because if there's a train,
of course,
the traffic lights are not green flowing towards the train. And I said it over and over again to the insurance company, and we were making this argument, and it took several months because we requested the body cam footage, and things like that take time for us to get. And then, we send it on to the insurance company and say, listen, I'm so sorry, but you're insured, or the defendant driver is actually at fault for running the red light. And so just being able to pursue that, was extremely valuable and helpful to my client, because if it's a he said, she said, the officer didn't take time because they're so busy doing all of the work that they do to keep us safe and responding to accidents. Sometimes they don't have the opportunity to really do a full investigation there at the scene. And so if we wouldn't have requested the body cam footage through the Open Records Request Act, then, it would have turned out very differently for my client.
And that made the difference in the case?
It did.
Wow.
It did.
And also, there are times when we get the 911 tapes, and people will call in who are not listed on the police report.
Yes.
So we're able to contact them, get their statements, and turn the case around. I had a case that took place down in South Georgia where they tried to say it was a he said, she said, but the 911 tapes had a witness who saw the dump truck make a right turn where my client had the right of way to cross the street. So we were able to get a sizable return for our client.
Wow, talking about putting in the time and the effort to investigate these cases. When folks are calling you for this free consultation, you're not always the first call, right?
No, we do get calls for people who have had a bad experience with another law firm or are having difficulty communicating with their current lawyer. And, the valuable thing about when you call our firm is you get to talk to me or Richard or an attorney who is actually going to be the lawyer that's handling your case. So, we're going to do our best to do a very detailed consultation and get as much information as possible so we can say, yes, you have a case. We want to pursue that case for you. Or if we can't, which sometimes happens, we'll explain to you why. And so with that additional time that we take to explain why we don't think we can pursue a case for you, that saves you time calling multiple other attorneys,
right,
possibly trying to find a reason.
Dialing.
Yeah.
Can you think of a time when you had to tell somebody on the phone, I'm so sorry, but we can't help you?
Yes, and it was recent, so it's top of mind at the moment. But I had a lady call in who she had hired another law firm, and she did not have health insurance, and she kept calling the attorney saying, like, what do I do? What do I do? And whenever she finally called me, it was 2 months after the accident, and she had went to a doctor 1 or 2 times over the course of the 2 months. And she was really hurting, and she had kept calling her lawyer saying, what do I do? What do I do? And they had not called her back. And she calls our firm and says, what can I do? And at that point, there's not much I can do. The way the case had been set up and the way that it had started off really torpedoed her case.
So what I'm hearing from you two is that the wrong law firm can jack up my case.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Can I fire my lawyer?
You have a right to fire your attorney at any time for any reason, but sooner is better.
Richard Warner and Alyssa White taking us through the top 5 common questions received by Mottlick Injury Attorneys. Coming up next, the 2 words that always apply when it comes to talking about how much your personal injury case is worth. Stay with us. Hey, welcome back to Lawyers in the House with Mottlick. I'm your host, Veronica Waters, here with Mottlick Injury Attorneys Alyssa White and Richard Warner, telling us the top 5 common questions that Mottlick attorneys get when it comes to these personal injury cases. We've already learned, how much is this going to cost me? And how do I know if I've even got a case to begin with? Next up, we're going to talk about, no surprise, this question, how much is my case worth? And Richard and Alyssa, I have learned that when it comes to a personal injury case and figuring out how much it's worth, 2 words always apply. It depends.
Absolutely. There's a number of factors that will ultimately determine the value of any personal injury case. But most importantly, ultimately, you cannot put a price tag on your health. So our initial focus is to get you better. And it's the treatment and documentation of your injuries that leads to good results.
You better say that, Dan. You cannot put a price tag on your health. What does it mean for me as an injured person if I'm talking to a lawyer and they're like, oh, I know I can get you X number of dollars for this case. I know I can land you a $500,000 for this.
Well, that's a red flag. None of us have a crystal ball. So it's really unfair to any person who calls up for a consultation for us to start tossing around dollar figures. We don't know what the policy limits are for the insurance policy. We don't know what the expenses are going to be. And we don't know what suffering and inconvenience that you're going to go through that's going to make the case more valuable than someone who has to overcome less difficulties and experiences less pain than you do.
Okay, so the person throwing out numbers at me first time I talk to him is like, run as fast as you can.
Absolutely, the opposite way.
So how do you go through that process, though, to figure it out how much a case is worth?
Well, we have a lot of resources, like we've said earlier, to discover what is available to compensate you for your recovery. First and foremost, we look at the insurance policy. And, sometimes the insurance is not enough. Mm-hmm. And, we have to deal with that. There's ways that we can check assets and see if people have properties and things like that. But most of the time, just even doing a thorough discovery of all insurance policies that apply to your situation takes time. And that's certainly something that we do for our clients.
Well, it is important, as Alyssa was mentioning, to know what policies that you have that could provide benefits for you as well. Mm-hmm. For example, if you have medical payments coverage on your car policy, well, you're going to receive more money typically than someone who does not have medical payments coverage.
Is the award taxable?
Generally speaking, money for pain and suffering is exempt from both federal taxation and state taxation.
Could it vary from state to state? Because I know you guys do cases all over the country.
It can vary from state to state, but federal law is consistent from state to state. But the individual laws in those states could vary.
Top 5 common questions to Montlick Injury Attorneys here on Lawyers in the House. If you've got a question you want us to answer, drop us a message online at lawyersinthehouse.com. I'm Veronica Waters with Alyssa White and Richard Warner. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Lawyers in the House with me, your host, Veronica Waters, and Montlick Injury Attorneys Richard Warner and Alyssa White, running you through point by point the top 5 most common questions Montlick Injury Attorneys receive. So far, we have learned how expensive is this going to be for me? How hard are you going to hit my pockets? How much is my case going to be worth? And how do I even know if I've got a case at all? If you missed any of those great nuggets, make sure you hit us up on every social media platform at Montlick Law to find the answers to those questions. You can always hit us up at lawyersinthehouse.com and see us on YouTube, online, every place where your podcasts go. To live is where you will find Lawyers in the House. And make sure you remember, you can drop us a line 24/7 at lawyersinthehouse@montlick.com. Talking about the top 5 most common questions, I would imagine that question number 4 also does not come as a surprise to any of us. How long is this going to take?
Well, your case is typically driven by your medical treatment. We normally don't start to resolve a case until you have been released from all treatment. Sometimes a client will respond well to what's called conservative treatment, and that's treatment with a therapist or a chiropractor. But when the clients do not respond to that treatment, additional tests may get ordered, and those tests could be like an MRI or a CT scan, and that may pinpoint a more severe injury than was initially diagnosed. And when that happens, the clients may need injections or even surgery. So that adds a different range of values completely to the case if that's involved.
Yeah, it seems like some of these cases, though, go on for years.
Well, they can. Now, the medical treatment part typically ends. Now, what we try to do is reach an out-of-court settlement first. But if that's not successful, we'll file a lawsuit, and that's when it could take years to resolve.
And just about, how long a case takes, you'd be really, really upset with us if we hurried up to get you a settlement, let's say 6 weeks or 3 weeks or, a couple months in, and you're still having some residual pain. If we were pushing you to hurry up and settle your case, you're not going to be too happy with us when 6 months down the road, you're having back surgery or neck surgery. And so not rushing to hurry up and get you a check real fast and being more focused on the long term and your overall wellness and getting better is something that, we really focus on at our firm.
Yes, it's important for our listeners to understand that once their case is closed, it cannot be reopened.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is a question that's top of mind for me, how long is this going to take? What do you tell your clients?
It depends. You know, I say it depends on you and when you are well. So, you know, let's say you go to therapy for 3 months, for example, and you're good. You say, Alyssa, I'm back to normal. I'm back to the gym. I'm doing all my normal activities. I'm sleeping well through the night, things like that. Those are signs that you're okay, you're well. And at that point, we would move forward with the insurance demand to the insurance company. And, you know, typically there's 30 days that it takes for them to review and evaluate and get back to us. But again, it's all driven for the most part by the amount of medical care that you need to be well.
And I know that sometimes maybe if you have to go to mediation, you have to go to trial, that's going to stretch out the timeline too.
Yes, exactly.
What are clients thinking and feeling in those moments though, when they're just sort of waiting? I would think, you know, there's got to be a lot of worry.
Well, and the communication is a big factor in that. You know, let's say we are not able to get the case resolved and we are moving forward with a lawsuit and we do have a mediation on the calendar. Typically, it takes a couple months to get on everybody in the same room for a mediation, for example. And so just having the communication with your lawyer and being able to say, okay, my lawyer told me our mediation is December 15th. Okay, I know that is the date. You know, just keeping them informed and knowing what to expect is such a big part of client counseling and client involvement in their own cases. If you know what to expect and know what's going to happen or what should happen and the next steps moving forward, it's a lot easier to deal with the anxiety and the stress that comes along with it because at least you have someone guiding you through it.
Yeah, it's just like it's putting you at ease psychologically.
Yeah.
Right.
And at Montlick, one thing we pride ourselves on are that our clients get to speak to their attorneys regularly. So the clients know how their cases are progressing. So it's not a surprise when their case does go to mediation or it does go to trial.
I can text you, I can call you, I can email you. And again, no bill for the email, right?
No bill for the email.
I spent 12 seconds thinking about this, so let me bill you for 30 minutes. Okay, it's not like that at all.
You come into the office, have a face-to-face meeting, there's no bill.
You know, and it's so funny that you are talking about this because when we did the show with Philip and Mark, Philip Hairston and Mark Molina, we were talking about, Philip said he had, we were talking about depositions and being how you need to communicate with your attorneys. This is the show that we did on Attorney Red Flags, guys. He said that he had a client who had another personal injury before Philip did, and that this particular client was blown away when Philip brought him in to actually help them prepare for a deposition. It's like my old lawyer never did anything like this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the time and the effort, and ultimately it comes down to the compassion we have for our clients and wanting to do a very good representation for them and listening to their needs and executing the case well.
All right. So basically, again, it depends. We don't know how long this is going to take.
Yeah.
But as you said, the focus is on me getting well if I've been injured, right? What am I supposed to do in the meantime, though, guys? Let's be honest. The bills are stacking up. Maybe I can't go to work. You know, my livelihood is right here on the line, too. Who's paying my doctor's bills before the settlement comes? And who's going to fix my car?
Okay, when you get into a wreck, in most jurisdictions, particularly in Georgia, there's two separate claims, one claim for property damage and one claim for your bodily injuries. So typically you can resolve your property damage claim first and then keep your bodily injury claim open to receive ongoing injuries. And let me clarify for our listeners, our attorney fee only applies to the bodily injury claim. It does not apply to the property damage claim. Whatever you get for your car is for you to keep. There's no attorney fee or any surcharges that get deducted from your property damage settlement. In fact, recently, I just had a situation where a client was entitled to money for diminished value. When you get into a wreck, if your car is repairable, in most jurisdictions, the insurance companies have to pay you for the difference of value in your car from what someone would pay for a car that has not been in a wreck as opposed to yours that was in a wreck.
Right, because we go online and, you know, the Carfax tells us, right, this car has been in a wreck. So,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
So we know. So my client had an older SUV. It was in good condition, as evidenced by the fact that it was repairable. It was repaired. The insurance company did not want to pay him for diminished value. I got involved. I sent a legal document that has some bite, and we were able to reach a compromise of $1,000. That $1,000 went directly to the client.
Love it. So again, resources, time, effort.
Yes.
This is what it takes. Can we go back to the doctor's bills though, Alyssa? This is if I'm getting better, I'm focusing on getting better. This is what you want me to do, whether I have insurance or not. It's going to be expensive.
Yes, medical treatment is expensive. There's no question about that. What we don't want is for medical bills to dissuade you from pursuing a case. We don't want you to go to sleep at night saying, oh, my back hurts and I can't afford to go to the doctor, or I'm scared that I'm going to be stuck with a medical bill because I went to the doctor, when that's what you need. You were injured due to no fault of your own, and you should have the medical treatment to help you get better without the worry of a bill or a bill collector calling you all the time. And, we can't always force medical providers to do one thing or another. You might be getting a call from collections, but we can advise you on some ways to help minimize that. For example, let's say you go to the emergency room and your health insurance pays, but there's still a copay or deductible that you owe the hospital. We highly suggest that you call and set up a payment plan and say, listen, I want to pay you. I'm not trying to hide. I'm not trying to get out of it. But set up a small payment plan to avoid the bill going into collections. Let them know that you have an attorney representing you. And then when it comes time to settle or resolve the case, we can circle back and pay up those balances out of your settlement proceeds and help negotiate the balances as well.
Yes, and that's important because when you have health insurance, if you look at your bill, your EOB, your explanation of benefits, more often than not, your health insurance company does not pay the full bill. They get a discount. So as Alyssa mentioned, we take the same approach on behalf of our clients. We approach hospitals, doctors, therapists, chiropractors, and negotiate for them to accept less than what their bill was to maximize our clients' net bottom line.
I think that would be helpful for me because I might be a little shy on the phone when it comes to exactly what you were just talking about, talking to someone and saying, look, I do want to pay you. I mean, how many, listen, how often do bill collectors hear, I want to pay you. But it's different than saying, I'm not going to pay you. Mm-hmm. It's just like, things are tough for me right now. I'm hurt. I'm not working. I don't have a lot of income coming in or whatever the situation is. So you guys can actually sort of take the lead on that?
Yes, there's something called treating on a lien basis, LIEN. And under those arrangements, the doctors agree to wait until the case is over before they expect payment. Mm-hmm. And even though they wait, we still negotiate the bills down so they take less than they initially billed.
I had no idea that you could do that.
Yes.
We get a lot of clients who have no health insurance. And you're thinking, I was in a wreck. It's not my fault. I'm hurt. What do I do? And just like the client I was speaking about earlier, she was waiting for her prior lawyer to call her with like some options for medical care. And, over the course of all of the years that Montlick has been in the community, we know of some places we can suggest that you go for medical treatment where those doctors have experience treating accident victims and are willing to work with us because of our reputation and our experience, and know that they will be paid out of settlement proceeds when that eventually comes, but that so that the client doesn't suffer in the meantime with the lack of health insurance or the lack of access to medical care.
Right. And we practice law and we let the doctors practice medicine.
Yes.
This isn't the case. Can I ask you something too about that lady though? How did she find out that her case was so messed up?
She found out that her lawyer was dropping her case when she went in to see her chiropractor.
What?
Yes. So, huge red flags there, obviously. If your chiropractor is talking to you about your lawyer, that's a problem.
So let me be clear, though, on this point. Can I ask you for suggestions of a, medical personnel that I can go see?
Yes. I always tell my clients I can make suggestions, but ultimately you make the decisions. You can treat with the doctors that you want to and you're comfortable with, and I will provide them with whatever they need from me to help them treat you.
All right. So what if maybe there's a lawyer who says, hey, I got a doctor right here for you, or a doctor who says, or a doctor who's like, hey, like come meet my lawyer or whatever.
That's a red flag.
I don't know. That may not even actually happen in real life.
Oh, well, I just was speaking to someone yesterday who the lawyer showed up at the chiropractor's office.
Whoa.
So you can only imagine what's really going on out there if that's just the little snippets of things that we hear about. But huge red flag if your lawyer shows up at your chiropractor's office.
Oh, my gosh. I thought I was cracking a joke. All right. Thank you so much to Alyssa White and Richard Warner. Coming up, you've been waiting for this all hour long. The Montlick closing argument is just around the corner. Stay with us. Hey, welcome back to Lawyers in the House with Montlick. This is your host, Veronica Waters, here with Richard Warner and Alyssa White, and it's what you've been waiting for, the Montlick closing argument. Alyssa and Richard, the floor is yours.
At Montlick, we are a personal injury law firm, and the key word there is personal. Your injury is personal to you, and it's personal to us. Helping injured people is all that we do, and if you're injured, we want to help you. You can reach us, our toll-free number, 1-800-LAW-NEED. Numerically, that's 1-800-529-6333.
I've never had an attorney do that before. I'm always, thank you so much for doing that, because normally I'm like, on my phone. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt the Motley closing argument. Go ahead, Alyssa.
Oh, I was just going to say, like we said earlier, if your doctor is talking to you about your lawyer or your case, big red flag. You need to take a serious look at what's going on in your situation. And of course, always give us a call. Again, 1-800-LAW-NEED. We're here to help you.
Give me an example of when I know that that's trouble.
Well, personal injury is hiding in plain sight all around us. More often than not, when we're going to work and coming home from work, we see a wreck. Oftentimes in those wrecks, someone is injured. If you're injured, we want to help you, but we can only help you if you call us first. Lawyers are not supposed to call injured people out of the blue. That's why we advertise, and that's why we ask you to call us so we can help you.
No running cases, folks.
No, that's illegal.
Not even when it comes from the person that you think is helping you, the person who's got you in their medical office.
Yeah, it's a huge red flag. You know, if a lawyer is showing up while you're, having physical therapy, big red flag.
That happens.
It does.
Yep.
It really happens. It really does.
And if I want to make clear, too, that when we're talking about medical treatment, you can suggest somebody for me. You can't demand that I go to a particular place.
I'll be your lawyer no matter where you choose to go to the doctor. And if any lawyer is conditioning their representation on you going to a specific doctor, again, like we always say, big red flag. I'll be your lawyer. We want what's best for you and your medical treatment. And as long as you're getting medical treatment, that's the best thing you can be doing for yourself and for your case.
Number 1 and number 2 on my list of awesome attorneys today, Alyssa White and Richard Warner from Montlick Injury Attorneys. We've talked about the top 5 common questions that these lawyers get, but you might have some more. So remember, you can drop us a line anytime at lawyersinthehouse@montlick.com. Don't forget to find us where your favorite podcasts go to live. It's Spotify and Apple and Google Play Store and everywhere you look. Just like and subscribe, give us a review, tell us what you think, and see our pretty faces online at lawyersinthehouse.com. Until next time, I'm your host, Veronica Waters. This is Lawyers in the House with Montlick. Peace out.